Hi everyone. Well, I didn't get any comments and no one tried to talk me into painting this son of a gun red. So I've painted it green. I think all my cars have been green except for one. It's amazing that this color keeps coming back. This is Conifer British Racing Green. This is a Nason product, Nason Ful-Cryl over top of Ful-Poxy, Nason Ful-Poxy. This is moderately priced paint. It sprays real well. I sprayed it with the $49 Harbor Freight gun. Sprays as well as anything else I've ever used. I don't know that I would become a professional painter using a cheap gun since you can't control the variables that the cheap equipment gives you. But, for someone like me, it's adequate. I don't know that I could spend a couple of $100s and do much better. I think people confuse Chinese stuff. In my business, we use gearboxes and whatnot, and when a company in America decides they no longer want to manufacture a gearbox, they'll sell all the tooling to a Chinese company. So I couldn't get the Nord gearbox that I normally use, but here I got a call from this woman in China, and they make the exact same thing. It's not called that, Nord, but it's called something else. And I'm convinced it's on the same tools because it looks identical. Why would you have all those tools made and molds and all that for something that you're selling cheap? So American companies don't want to make stuff. They send it to China. And, the Chinese say, hey, we'll make it. It's not that they build a cheap wheelbarrow and come over here and try to sell us a cheap wheelbarrow. We go over there and say, will you build us a wheelbarrow for $5? Because I want to sell a wheelbarrow for $50 and I want to make $45. It's not that it's cheap stuff. I think the Chinese will make whatever you want, just about like any other industrialized country. So the gun's not bad. This is probably the same gun that other companies make. An Eastwood house brand. The company that makes this gun probably makes other house brands. Anyway, it turned out all right. I've got a little bit of trash in it, not very much. I'm not in a paint booth. I'm just in the shop. Now this is Ful-Poxy, body work on top of the Ful-Poxy, and then yesterday I put a final top coat of Ful-Poxy. Ful-Poxy is kind of watery, it goes on real nice. And 24 hours later, which is right now, I came in, wet sanded it with 400 and shot it. My objective is to get the wiring harness in it because I want to start assembling the car because it takes up so much less space. So with this painted, I can now put the body on the frame, put my final panels, here's the frame right here all covered up, put my panels on for the last time, get them all adjusted, a little bit of adjustment on the gaps and whatnot, whatever it takes, and then I want to paint the thing assembled. But anyway, the interior of the hub I've done in low gloss black from Tractor Supply. As good a paint as I've ever used. I paint all my trailers with it. It wears terrifically well. Under dash and the tub is all low gloss black. So when I install the heater and all that stuff, and when I'm finally getting out of there, I can buy an aerosol can of non-catalyzed low gloss black and do a really good job of touching up. And because the rattle can is on top of the hardened paint, it's as good as anything. The rest of the car exterior, what little bit will show is in epoxy. I don't know whether I'm going to bedline, undercoat, or paint the inner fenders. I haven't decided yet. It'll be black to the fuel tank, and then it'll be green in the back. But no one, I get so few comments on my YouTube videos. I don't post on YouTube to become a star or anything. I just think that there are guys out there who are doing this that would like to see how maybe someone's doing it and get some tips. A lot of guys will go crazy on this paint thing. They'll think, we got epoxy primer, I've got acid etch, then I've got 2K, and I've got this, and I've got that, and Jesus. And but I've had really good luck painting with bare metal, Ful-Poxy epoxy primer, body work on the Ful-Poxy, sealed over top with more Ful-Poxy, wet sanded with 400 and shot. That's exactly what this is. And as every other thing I've ever painted, I don't think I'm going to have any trouble with it. I mean, I just don't think I am. it's not that tough. These cars, when I was in college, this was the sort of car, MGs, Triumphs. You'd buy this car if you wanted something, if you were mechanically inclined, if you wanted something you could work on. I don't know of anybody who was mechanically inclined who owned a Fiat 124 or a Spider or an Alfa Romeo or anything of that nature that won. But if you had an MGB or Tr6 or Tr4, you had a pretty midget. You had a pretty good shot at being able to have cheap transportation. My first car was a white metal dash Tr4. That thing ran like a freight train. It was a very rusty car, but the thing was brave. It was a brave car. It ran really strong. It had overdrive. The car had a nobility to it that it's just hard for me to explain. My next car when I was in college was a Tr6, much more refined car. This same color. This is Laurel, I think. But those were the sorts of cars that you owned in those days if you were mechanically inclined. I know a lot of guys who would leave for home on Friday and decide and say, I'm going to rebuild the engine and come back on Monday. And they would do it. So these things aren't that complicated. I'm probably going overboard on this, the way I'm doing it. And a lot of guys who do restorations are thinking that this is a poor pedestrian effort. This is nothing compared to what some people do. But anyway, my frame is all ready to go. I'm waiting for some pieces and parts, but it's all ready to rock and roll. I've got a few little things to do yet on it, but it's doing real well. I'm real happy with it. Again, this is low gloss Tractor Supply hardened enamel, and when the car is completely finished, I'll be able to touch it up with a rattle can of the same paint in low gloss. Now it won't be catalyzed, but since it's on top of the catalyzed paint, it'll do well. It'll look fine, and it'll last just as long. A lot of guys go for powder coating. I've been in the powder coating business. I've worked technically in the business. It's not a better paint for this application. It's a better paint for industry because it's fast and it's cheap, but there's no corrosion resistance underneath it. It's fused to the metal. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But a lot of these older paints, some of the fish oil red oxide primers stayed a little bit gooey. Some of the old timers would tell you to wipe down your thing you're going to paint with mineral spirits, and if a little bit of mineral spirit soaks into the rust, that's all right. Paint over top of it, and that little bit of mineral spirits draws the primer into the rust. I've seen some great Rust-Oleum paint jobs. I restored a car one time with a Rust-Oleum primer paint job, and it didn't do any worse than anything else. So, the powder coating, it's for guys with a pocketbook, I guess it seems like everyone wants to upgrade this, upgrade that, upgrade. These cars were fine without it. I've cleaned many a Tr6 frame out with mineral spirits and poured a gallon of red oxide primer down in there, and then followed it up with an industrial enamel, essentially bridge paint. The stuff never dried. It was always gooey and sticky in there, and of course that's what I wanted. So you pay your money and you make your choice. Anyway, I've been watching YouTube. I've been watching this crazy Bulgarian who moved to Canada, and I've been watching this English guy with his Vitesses. I really enjoy watching these guys. The first guy, Aaron, I like his style. I like the way he works, and the other guy, Nutley, he's got some real skills. So again, you can watch YouTube and pick up a couple little things that can make a big difference. So hopefully, my little video here will tell someone to not worry about the paint job. You can do it. You can do it. You don't have to go crazy with it, but you do have to do it. And it's better to get working at it, because as you're working, you'll solve your little problems as you go along. If you're sitting in an armchair, thumbing through catalogs and all that, maybe not. But if you can put yourself back into college kid mode and start working, I think you'll be all right. Anyway, so I'll mount the body to the frame, put my wiring harness in, take a lot of this stuff off the shelf, and install my heater, my wipers, and my fuel tank, and all this stuff to start getting the car concentrated on its wheels, put the thing on its wheels, finalize the body work, do all the small little adjustments that the outer panels require. These are all in nice shape. I've done a lot of work to them, but they're all in nice shape. And a couple little adjustments that might have to be made to get these profiles to match the hood. And there's just some little stuff here and there, but generally speaking, not too bad. I've got my windshield assembled with the glass and the interior panels in it and all that, and it's bagged up. I've got my convertible top completely done. It's bagged up, my top frame that is, bagged up, ready to go. So I've got lots of sub-assemblies all ready to go. So again, I wanted to get it to where I could start putting the harness in it. So in a day or two after this is firmed up, I'm going to start assembling. Anyway, there it is, guys. Good luck with your stuff. I'll talk to you later.